recognize the South. That's all I got to say. So, comrades, I'm very glad that Monica asked me to speak on developments in Brazil and Venezuela, despite the fact that the agenda was a little tight. But really, at a tribute to Malcolm X, how can we not bring them up? Because Malcolm himself, as our comrades before have said, was such a profound internationalist and anti-imperialist. I am sure that had he not been assassinated, he would be on the front lines today in defending all the oppressed against imperialism. Obviously, I cannot devote the time that Brazil and Venezuela each merit in one short report tonight, and I'm really glad that there's some Venezuelan and Brazilian comrades here that can, answer some of the questions that you may have. Because each area, of course, is a weighty topic on its own. But it was important for the party to at least say a few words tonight, knowing full well that in the weeks to come, we must continue to not only talk about recent developments in the Americas, but to study them, and most important, must respond to these developments. In fact, I am happy to report that the IAC is already working with Brazilian activists and have already set up a planning meeting that everyone here is invited to. That meeting is this coming Tuesday here at the center. So please stay tuned for announcements on solidarity plans. And there is already talk proposed by our comrade Lucy, our Honduran sister, who's talking about working with the Brazilian women about having a women's action for Brazil. So I'm really excited about that. As we all know by now, a coup d'etat was regrettably carried out in Brazil on May the 12th, a coup that ousted Brazil's President Dilma. How do you say the last name? Rousseff. At the same time, dangerous threats continue against the Bolivarian revolution in Venezuela that attempt to sabotage and overturn the revolutionary process opened up by President Hugo Chavez and that continue today with President Nicolás Maduro, a bus driver. I want to quote what others are writing about the turn of events in Brazil and Venezuela, because some of them say much better than anything I could say. One woman wrote, "Now a feeling of death hangs over Brazilian women. It is an overwhelming feeling of impotence, of silencing, of aggression. I do not speak in terms of politics or the economy. I speak of representation. I speak of a woman who entered a snake pit and she managed to play the game to the end, a game imposed by white men for white men." End of quote. Brazil is one of the largest and most important countries in South America. With over 200 million people, it is the world's sixth largest economy, a country with much natural wealth that the capitalists just salivate with desire to control. The rainforests, the beloved and besieged rainforests, cover almost 60% of the country. Why wouldn't the capitalists do everything in their power to control the Brazilian state? Significantly, Brazil has the largest Black population outside of Africa. Any pro-capitalist, pro-imperialist setback in that country is therefore a racist attack. The attack, of course, is thoroughly anti-worker, but it is also thoroughly sexist and racist. Just look at what has happened since the Vice President, Michael, I'm going to say it in English because I always give English names to sellouts. Michael Temer took the presidency. A Telesur headline on May 13 read, "In just one day, Brazil's post-coup president sent the country back decades." When you see the picture of the cabinet he appointed, you just want to scream with rage. It's appalling. All these white men, ugly men, not because of their looks, but because of the side of the class war they chose. The coup cabinet has no women, no black ministers, no one who identified as LGBT, or any representation from social movements, unlike the prior cabinet. Let's be reminded, comrades and friends, this is exactly what Donald Trump, the Tea Party, and all their ilk want to do in this country. They too would like to erase the gains that the oppressed have fought for, and for who many, like Malcolm, died for. But like the Brazilian people have shown in the days since the coup, we are not going back. None of us are going back. Not the people of Latin America or the Caribbean, not the people of this country. It is another reminder of the importance of our campaign, Monica Moorhead and Lamont Lilly for president and vice president. The U.S. elections have the capacity to act like a giant vacuum that sucks all the energy and agenda. We know police brutality continues unfettered, but all the media attention is on the rants coming from the vulgar Donald Trump and the warmonger Hillary Clinton. Talk about them both. One thing for sure, however, this election year, especially because of the support that Bernie Sanders has from the anti-Wall Street youth, it also shows how undemocratic these elections are, but they've always been that way. But that's another report altogether. In the days to come, our presidential candidate, Monica Moorhead, will be sending a message of solidarity to President Dilma, to the many left parties in Brazil, and to the social movements in the streets. We will express our solidarity and our excitement to see women's groups, indigenous groups, artists, and musicians, all these different sectors united in protest against the coup. It's been wonderful to see the response. And the statement will, of course, express our anger at this coup. The scene from Brazil that was described as the Black Power protest, where Black Brazilians all stood in front of Temer's office with their fist up in the air, just gave me chills. Malcolm would have been proud. We stand in solidarity with them and all Brazilians in this difficult hour. Let me return to the setbacks. Another journalist wrote, Venezuela and Brazil are the scenes of a new form of coup d'etat that would set the continent's political calendar back to its worst times. But they are not the only ones. Haiti against President Aristide, Venezuela earlier in 2002, Honduras 2009 against President Zelaya, Paraguay, Argentina, all represents efforts by Washington and their puppets in Latin America to turn back the clock. A few days ago, President Maduro stated at a press conference, a new Plan Condor is being implemented against progressive governments in Latin America and the Caribbean. For those who don't know, Operation Condor was U.S. imperialist's dirty war in Latin America in the 70s and 80s, where hundreds of thousands of people were killed in an attempt to destroy the left movements. Those efforts continue today. Maduro said, the campaign against Venezuela is generating violence and chaos that is allowing an intervention by the U.S. Since the advent of the Bolivarian Revolution opened up by Chavez in 2002, the U.S. and their allies in Venezuela have tried everything to sabotage the revolution. The right wing in that country is enraged because the poor now have health care and education, and most important, a say in society. These counter-revolutionaries are right now demanding a recall referendum to remove Maduro. These fascists turned in over 1 million signatures for this referendum. Investigations, however, show that the signatures are false, and many of them were signed by people that are dead. And that makes sense, because who would find over 1 million people in Venezuela who want to return to poverty?
That's right. Thank you.
This recent referendum is just one of many efforts that the U.S. backed and led right wing in Venezuela is carrying out to undermine the revolution. 24/7 in the media, in society, they are sowing confusion, inciting violence, hoarding food, and killing leftist leaders. Comrades and friends, hermanas y hermanos, if you leave with no other message from me tonight, it is this. There is a crisis in Latin America. These are extremely difficult times for the Bolivarian Revolution, for Brazil, for Honduras, and all of Latin America. We know it is difficult around the world. Palestine, Mexico, Syria, Puerto Rico. But with regards to South America, Latin America, there is an important difference. Revolutionaries have taken state power. Are they perfect Marxist-Leninists? Maybe not, except Fidel, of course. But these efforts to take state power away from imperialism are efforts we must support. We have to do everything we can to assure that in Brazil, in Venezuela, in Bolivia, in Ecuador, their revolutionary processes are allowed to unfold free of imperialist intervention. Yes. It is setback time. It is setback time. And what does that mean for us? It means pushback time, solidarity time. Setback, pushback. U.S. imperialist war wants to turn back the clock to colonial racist domination. But this is not the 1950s. We are not the movement of those days, are we? We have a Fidel. We had a Chavez. We have a Maduro, Evo, and all the rest. And the masses' expectations have been lifted. And when you have given the workers a taste of freedom, a taste of power, you cannot take that away. We are confident, despite all the destabilization efforts, that the workers and oppressed of Latin America and the Caribbean will be triumphant sooner or later. Malcolm, like Che, and so many others show that you can kill a revolutionary, but you can never kill the revolution. Long live the Brazilian and Venezuelan people. Long live international solidarity. All power to the workers and oppressed. Malcolm X presente. Malcolm X presente. Malcolm X presente.